Thank you, Steph. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'll brief you on events. If you just quickly look at the slide, the area we're talking about clearly is the DRC, and the province is North Kivu. And if you look at that slide of North Kivu, the box focuses you in on the area that we're concerned with. Yesterday evening at dusk, our company operating base at Semiliki Bridge in North Kivu was attacked by armed elements. These are initial reports. Clearly, we will get more as the hours and days go on. This attack reportedly continued for some 3 hours. Attackers are suspected to have been members of the Allied Democratic Forces. We have no confirmed information on the numbers of attackers. However, it was clearly a major attack. The latest information we have is that at least 14 Tanzanian peacekeepers were killed and at least 53 injured, 3 of them critically. Another 3 soldiers are missing in action. Please note that those numbers are likely to change as information is updated. The wounded have been evacuated, and more than 20 are currently being further evacuated to our level 3 hospital in Goma in North Kivu, and further medical evacuation is possible onwards for seriously injured. Be aware that members of the armed forces of the DRC were also killed and wounded in this incident. Numbers have yet to be confirmed. Our reinforcements have arrived on the scene, and clearly a search is ongoing for those missing soldiers. And be aware this is the 3rd attack in recent months on UN bases in this area, the last being at a base called Mamundioma in October. And on the slide you can see with the blue helmet symbol a number of the bases that the UN has in the area. Sir, I'll pause there and hand over to you.
Well, thank you very much, Ian. And this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is obviously a very sad day for the United Nations. This is one of the worst attacks against our colleagues, our uniformed peacekeepers, and certainly the worst attack against our peacekeepers in the recent history, as Secretary General said earlier today. So first of all, I would like to express my heartfelt condolences to the people and the government of Tanzania, and clearly also to the families, and wish a speedy recovery to the injured. And I would like to extend my sympathy and express my condolences as well to our colleagues in MONUSCO, who are doing a very difficult job under very, very challenging conditions. It's also very important that the perpetrators should be brought to justice, as the Secretary General said this morning. These kind of attacks constitute war crimes, and therefore we call on the authorities of the Democratic Republic of Congo to take all the necessary measures, as I said, to apprehend and bring the perpetrators to justice. This attack follows a period of a couple of months where suspected ADF elements had staged attacks on position of Tanzanian peacekeepers. This ADF is an armed group that recently has stepped up its activities and posture in the region of northern Kivu. It has occurred against the backdrop of increased activities by various armed groups, that is not only the ADF but other armed groups both in North and South Kivu against FARDC and as well as MONUSCO bases. And in response to that situation, MONUSCO and the National Security Forces have been increasing the tempo of their operation to deter the activities of these armed groups and protect civilians. We are disturbing these groups. They don't want us there. And I think these attacks is a response by ADF, or probably ADF elements, we cannot confirm it fully yet, to our increasingly robust posture in that region. We have been enhancing our efforts to gather information and analysis, and we will continue to engage to address the root cause of instabilities in these conflict-affected areas together with the national authorities. I am planning to travel to the DRC to show my support to our colleagues in MONUSCO and to engage with the authorities of the DRC on how to address the increasing threat of armed groups to the civilian population. We'll stop there. We are ready to answer to your questions.
Thank you. We'll take some questions. Matthew?
Matthew Lee, Intercity Press. Thanks a lot for the briefing. It's a terrible event. I wanted to know, one, were the Tanzanian battalion, is it part of the Force Intervention Brigade? And can you describe sort of what their work was or has been in that area? And with the ADF, it seems it's described as obviously a heavily armed attack. Can you give any insight into where they're getting armed from, whether they still have operations both in Uganda and in the DRC, and if there's been any cooperation by the government of Uganda, or what do they make similar attacks on the other side of the border? Thank you.
Yes, this is an area where we have essentially troops from the Force Intervention Brigade, that is troops from Tanzania, South Africa, Malawi. There are other contingents that are present as well. Nepal is one of them. The Force Intervention Brigade is actively responding to these activities of armed groups, these increased activities of armed groups. And obviously we'll have to draw all consequences from what has happened today. As we're saying, we are working to make sure that MONUSCO, particularly in this region of North and South Kivu, is more reactive, more able to anticipate these kind of threats. We have recently completed a strategic review in MONUSCO, and the recommendation of that review really go along these lines, but there's more work to do, and we are determined to continue this work. On the ADF activities, these have been clearly concentrated on the DRC side of the border lately.
Your mic, please.
I'm Rick Gladstone from the New York Times. What is the ideology of the ADF? Why are they doing this?
Yes, we have been trying to have a better knowledge of ADF, and both in terms of their, the support they are getting, and as well as their objectives and ideology. I think you could characterize ADF as a group that has an agenda that is both ideological and extremist in nature, but also very much focused, as many other armed groups in that region, on the exploitation of illegal resources. And this is, as you know, an area that is particularly rich in these different resources. So it is obviously a combination of these different agendas.
Thank you very much for the briefing. It's Pamela Falk from CBS News. On the bigger picture, can you characterize how successful MONUSCO has been and what the future is? Will you continue to try to increase rather than decrease forces? And how do you see the success rate of what's happened, especially with the other 69 or so armed groups?
As I was telling you, the MONUSCO is operating in eastern Congo against the backdrop of increased activities by armed group. MONUSCO has taken a number of measures to be more reactive, and there has been achievement in that regard. One of them recently is the successful response that MONUSCO brought to the very serious attack against the city of Uvira on the other side of the facing Burundi. But obviously there's more to do. As I say, we need to have a force that increases its both its ability to detect and prevent these threats, and also more capacity in terms of rapid reaction. And this has to do very much with the kind of training that our troops have, the kind of equipment that they have. As you know, we've been insisting on our need for more intelligence capacity and more mobility. And yes, we've already made some progress in that direction, but obviously there's more to be done, and we're determined to continue.
Monsieur Lacroix, une question en français. Selon le communiqué publié, on parle des présumés éléments de l'ADF. Ça veut dire qu'ils ne sont pas encore identifiés comme étant les auteurs. Est-ce que vous allez ouvrir une commission d'enquête pour véritablement savoir qui ont commis ces crimes, ou est-ce qu'ils sont identifiés systématiquement?
Merci beaucoup. C'est une attaque qui est intervenue dans une zone d'activité de l'ADF avec un historique d'attaque clairement attribué aux ADF. Donc il y a de fortes suspicions, mais à ce stade, pas de confirmation. Évidemment, nous allons faire le maximum et tout le nécessaire pour identifier très précisément ce qui s'est passé, mais pas seulement pour identifier, aussi pour faire en sorte qu'il y ait des conséquences qu'il doit tirer en termes de capacité de la force et en termes de posture de cette force. Merci.
In English about the question of confirming whether it's an ADF or not. Yeah.
Yes, I was saying that although we cannot 100% with 100% certainty confirm that this is an attack from ADF groups, I was saying that this is an attack that occurred in the area of activities of IADF with a history, a recent history of attacks that are clearly attributed to this group. And we are determined to go to the bottom of this and to very thoroughly examine what has happened, but not only examine, but also do everything so that we can draw consequences from that in terms of the forces' posture and the forces' reactivity.
Luke? Thanks, Luke Vargas with Talk Media News. Two brief questions. I'm not familiar with the geography of this area very well. Could you explain sort of the site where this attack occurred? Was it near any other settlements, or were these troops sort of on their own? And second, the statement from the SG this morning mentioned that military reinforcements arrived at the scene. At which point of this attack did they arrive? Was it in the middle, or did their arrival sort of herald the end of this?
Thank you. In terms of the geography, this is a remote area. It's jungle. And the base is on the fringes of the jungle near to the Semiliki River. The reason the base is there, together with a number of bases, is to seek to control that particular axis, which is a major route into the Beni area, and which groups like the ADF use to pass supplies, men and material up and down. The reason the base is also there is clearly to help protect civilians against attacks from this particular group. In terms of reinforcements, I don't have any clear information on the timing of the arrival of reinforcements. I suspect it was today, because remember, the attack took place at dusk. It was ongoing for 3 hours. You were well into the night, and situations are particularly unclear in attacks like this. It will take time before you can mobilize reinforcements and deploy them. Thank you.
Celia Lavarin, Mediapart. Mr. Lacroix, you said earlier that this is the third attack. Do you think that it's time maybe to change the mandate, or do you believe the mission has the right mandate?
The mission has a robust mandate, and you will recall that we were talking about a forest intervention brigade troops with a mandate that is specific and quite robust. So I think obviously the resources of MONUSCO are what they are in a country that is huge in size and with a very important population. So we have to be extremely thoughtful in terms of where we allocate these resources so that we can react as best as we can to this kind of attack. In the area we're talking about, there is quite a substantial presence of MONUSCO forces, particularly A5B, Forest Intervention Brigade forces. As I say, we are having an impact on this group. We are disturbing them, and they do not like it. And I think, again, this attack is also a response to, in a way, the measure, the extent to which we're able to disturb the activities of the group. And don't forget that these are groups that are preying on the population, harassing them, and by doing everything we can to respond to these groups and try to limit as much as we can their activity, we are protecting civilians, but because MONUSCO's presence, and particularly in this area, is very much about protecting civilians.